stuck in traffic. So.
Oh wow, that
Yeah.
surprises me. Right, great. I think we've got a quorum. I think
Awesome.
we are good.
All right, so I'll just share screen.
Welcome everyone. Whilst Adam gets ready, I'm just going to orient you to Zoho if you've never used this platform before. There is a Q&A box in the left-hand side. Feel free to drop any questions you have as we go. I'll come off mic and let the hosts know that we've got a question. By all means, feel free to give us some hype along the way if you feel like it, or an emoji as well. I'll be dropping links in here as we discuss them as well. So, Adam, do you want me to take everyone through the agenda?
Yeah, let's do that, Sarah. Can everyone see
Okay.
the screen?
Yeah, I've got nods from William and Garry. Right. Yeah. So I'll just go through the agenda and hand over to Adam for a bit of a master of ceremonies here. So we've got a bit of a different lineup today. We've got a number of speakers with us, which is awesome. We usually only have one and a deep dive into one, so it's fantastic to welcome our two speakers today. And there's another one that's going to be a live, a pre-record as well. So we're welcoming William, who is CEO of Coorest, our sustainability partner. I'm going to do a deep dive into sustainability, what we're doing with Coorest, and the amazing Elvis forest that I want to hear more about. We are then going to chat to Garry, our superfan, who is heavily involved in Elvis Today and the UK fan club, and has been a very active Discord member and love to hate winner of the trivia. So that's Garry, and then we're going to head into a bit of partner news and then show you a deep dive and the very first glimpses of the PFP collab we're doing with Joe Petruccio. We had another earnest conversation with Joe, and we'll share that and a few bits of news. So I'll hand over to Adam to do a fireside with William.
Hey, William. So maybe for those that missed before, it's pretty funny that you're still stuck in traffic, but I'm glad that you're found a parking and the car's safely in park. But like many misconceptions about traffic, I think blockchain comes up is almost consistent. So why don't we break down a few things, because it's a common misconception around the eco impact to that of blockchain and what it, and that impact directly to the environment. So why don't we break down a few parts there? What's the most common question that you get asked personally yourself?
One of the most common. Am I loud and clear, by the way?
Perfect.
Yes. All right. Good. Yeah. The most common misconception related to NFTs is that they are harmful for the environment, that they are expensive and worthless. Look at the Ether Rock. That is just a picture of a stone, or you have Bored Apes, of course. But it's not always the case, as most of you already know, because NFTs can also save endangered wildlife or fight or help fighting climate change. They are just some of the things that NFTs can do. Or how about cleaning the air, supporting agriculture, and creating new revenue sources for people? So that is one of the most common misconceptions that we hear at the Coorest.
But how about Ethereum though? Like we talk about proof of stake, proof of work blockchains, there's Bitcoin, there's Polygon, which is a layer 2 protocol of Ethereum. NFTs and Ethereum, like what would be the misconception there in general? Compared to other blockchains that are more eco-friendly per se.
Yeah, let's start with Bitcoin. I mean, I think most of people know Bitcoin or have heard about Bitcoin. And NFTs or crypto, for that matter, are not as eco-friendly as you might think, because recent studies showed that Bitcoin consumes about 113 terawatt hours per year, but the banking industry consumes 263 terawatt. So and then the research does not even take into account that 70% of the Bitcoin miners are using green energy. But that's Bitcoin, of course, so that's mining power. Our tokens are on Polygon. It's a layer 2 of Ethereum. And the total blockchain of Polygon only uses 0.0003079 terawatts per year. And Ethereum now still has, of course, also the mining power needed, but they use around 80 kilos of CO2 per transaction. And very soon they will shift over to a new concept, and then that will go drastically down. So it's a lot less CO2 that they need.
It's fair to say that, like for those that do know me, I'm a real romantic when it comes to the blockchain, but I'm also acknowledging the fact that there are its challenges. And that's, something that will continue to be improved. But for those like us, the reason why we even connected was how we could bring a project to the market that could use Ethereum, but work on a carbon neutral strategy to bring it together. So I think that's where we connected in general. So why don't you tell people about Coorest and what we're working on for Elvis Presley estate? And yeah.
Yeah, that yeah, of course, what we do is we got in contact. We had our ID with the trees that we do, and I mean it clicked pretty fast. I mean, this is a perfect utility of showing the world that you can do good with NFTs if you link it to a real world asset. I mean, each NFT that the Elvis project has is linked to real trees. So that means that we will be planting 10,000 trees, especially for this project. And with that forest, we show that there's a good utility for the NFTs and that we can compensate some of the CO2 emissions. But even, I mean, for this project, we will plant more trees than needed in the end. So we contribute to a greener world.
I think the carbon regeneration is it's a powerful thing when used. When Katie mentioned to me that there was 10,000 trees being planted for this project, and for in the spirit of Elvis, the location has been decided and it's all happening by the end of the month, I think, or something like that. But you've recently just been planting some trees for other projects. So how does it work when it comes to NF trees? How do you pick the locations? Give a bit of insight.
Yeah, so NF trees are NFTs linked to either a forest or a fruit tree. And we recently planted 7,000 fruit trees in Spain. And with these NF trees, we help purify the air, absorb CO2, create food, and support the agriculture locally. And since we also tokenize the carbon absorption of the tree, we have a unique model in that. So what we do for Elvis, we will plant 10,000 forest trees. It will be in Sweden, by the way. We have the location, and it will be this year. So there will be 10,000 trees planted this year for this project. And trees are they are linked with, they are backed with satellite data, a GPS location, and so that means that everybody always sees and has the proof that the trees are really there. We make monthly snapshots of the trees to keep giving the proof that the forest is there, and I think that is what the blockchain is all about, giving the transparency to the people, and everybody can access it.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we can go and visit this forest at some point, right?
Oh, yes, you can. We'll make a nice sign. Welcome to the forest of the King of Rock. We can do whatever we want at the forest. I mean, this forest is dedicated to Elvis and to this project. That means that if we can have we can host an Elvis convention in the forest if we want.
I'd love to. Once we're actually currently building this community as we speak, and I'd love to be able to take this to the community about exactly how we embrace the IP and in his past and what it may look like for the future together. And it's really what the project is all about. What's planned for Coorest moving forward? Like we spoke months back. You've done so much since then, and it's crazy to think of what would happen in another month or so with what you're developing. From your perspective, what's planned for the rest of the year, and like what do you want to achieve personally for Coorest moving forward?
Yeah, I think the most important update is the audit that we are currently going through, and that means that our trees that absorb the CO2 will be the first certified CO2 tokens on the blockchain. So probably everybody has heard of carbon credits. And a carbon credit is a credit for something that, it's a credit, so it might or might not happen in the future. And with CO2 tokens, they are only being generated after the tree absorbs the CO2. So you can never have a discussion if the CO2 is really absorbed, because it's there and it's verified by the satellite data, by our ecologists, and by the Coorest carbon standard. So that is, I think, our biggest milestone in the coming, let's say, 6 weeks. And this year we will be planting at least 50,000 trees as Coorest, and I think the goal for next year is to plant between 200,000 and 500,000 trees around the world.
And your personal mission, like starting Coorest, saying that you've done 50,000 trees, having Elvis Presley's IP associated with the project coming to it, like, has it met expectations so far? The feedback from community and otherwise, like, always comes with challenges, but how's it been for you in terms of the last year venturing into this?
Yeah, I think it exceeded our expectation. I mean, we could not have dreamt that we would be here right now. I mean, look at us talking with the Elvis community and all the other partnerships that we have. I mean, it's just amazing to see that you see a shift from people that start to realize what good blockchain can do and technology can do. And you see a shift from NFTs being a wordless picture to something that you can use. It can be an in-game use, or it can be as long as it has a utility. And with this forest, I mean, if you asked me a few months ago, we said, okay, we will be planting 10,000 trees this year. That would be our goal. Yeah, now we're adding an extra zero to it, the sky is the limit. I mean, there's so much. The only thing we can do is plant as many trees as possible and onboard projects that also plant trees. I mean, we cannot plant 10 million trees per year, but we can onboard projects who also plant trees to give them the opportunity to monetize your CO2 absorption that you do with your trees.
In other projects, we've actually committed to carbon credits to make it neutral. And, I was really proud of those initiatives. But I couldn't help but feel when we found out about the forest and everything else, it feels very secondary to what the opportunity might look like for this project moving forward. Because for us, we have many different things that we plan to deploy on the blockchain. And we'll talk through a few different parts of that with Garry next. But for us, we're looking forward to the next 10,000 as well. At this point, it's only the very start. I think there's something really special in being able to have a forest like this that you can go and visit, that we can host events in, that people can come from the public and witness. And well beyond our years will still live on, which is a very special sort of consideration. But yeah, we'll be able to touch base soon. I'm really looking forward to being able to see how these are planted. And I'm currently in Europe, so who knows? I might try and make my way down to do it at the end of the month. But for us, yeah, we're super excited, and hopefully we can continue to break down the barriers and sort of challenge the misconceptions in different ways. Because as you said, like, it is only possible that we've been able to do this because of the project that we're working on. And the mission is very clear for us, and I'd love for other people, to be able to continue to question it, for us to help answer and guide them in the processes and why we've been able to do what we've done. So thank you so much for being an amazing partner. We've got a lot to do and a lot to explore together. And this won't be the last time we speak, but hopefully the traffic isn't as bad as what you explained prior to the call. But thanks for making the time for us today.
Thank you for having me, and I'm really looking forward to a future partnership. And making. Imagine us making pictures in the Elvis forest. Yeah, that will be amazing.
It's crazy. Have a great day. I'll bring Garry on now.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Adam.
Garry, how you going?
Doing well. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yep.
So, Garry, tell us a little bit about. I know plenty about. I've got to know you over some time, and obviously we relate on two parts: one technology and the other Elvis. But give us a little bit of background on how why we're actually talking.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I've been a long-standing Elvis fan. Coming up to my 50th anniversary as a fan club member. I'm looking at my fan club card on the website here from 1973. So I go back to seeing Elvis on tour the very first time it came around. It's due for its 50th anniversary. So been around a while. An Elvis fan, determinedly. I built a website probably 15, 20 years ago. Called elvistoday.com, and we now host the Elvis Presley fan club there officially. Todd Slaughter, the honorary president, who's done a lot in the Elvis world, if you're familiar with the That's What Is movie. Elvis is the UK fan club was featured in the 1970 concert movie. Todd was interviewed for Elvis in Concert. He was the last person to film Elvis alive coming down the plane in Indianapolis on the 26th of June. So I've been working with Todd, who's getting very old now, as many of the original Elvis fans are, the original cohort. And one of the things that I find exciting about this conversation is the whole kind of metaverse, Web3, whole way of kind of stimulating on the back of things like the movie just come out, the new generation of Elvis fans, and promoting and curating the best of what Elvis had to deliver and continue to deliver into the future. So as an Elvis fan and as somebody involved with the fan club and who has it's almost like some protective instinct towards Elvis, giving thanks for all the pleasure he's given to millions of people over the many, many years. And certainly I've enjoyed that. And I'm looking forward to seeing and hearing the experience of new fans as they hear Elvis songs for the very, very first time. Tom Hanks talking about I'm Coming Home the other week. The first time I heard that song, I was very delighted to see that song featured in the movie. It used to be my ringtone back in 1988, I think it was, on my first mobile phone. And it appeared in the movie to my great surprise. And I was thinking as you were talking there to William, there's a great song on the Clambake album called Singing Tree. And that would be perfect as a marketing label for what you're talking about, planting trees. It's a beautiful little ditty on the back of the Clambake album. There's one of the kind of areas where lovely songs like that are just not heard by the general public. So anything that we can do and you guys are doing to innovate and bring Elvis to new audiences, it's very exciting actually. So that's kind of why I'm interested in helping participate, but also promoting and for Elvis fans purposes, really being selfish, trying to get some of the things that we've been waiting for productized, digitized for wider consumption. So we're still waiting for many, many good things that could happen. So lots of ideas around potential digitization of assets, NFTs, broadening audiences, metaverse places. But it's all very exciting from my point of view.
We haven't spoken since the movie was released, actually, a few weeks ago. So I'm assuming that you've gone and watched it.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple of times. Took my family, and yeah, it was good. It's a great movie. Looked on Billboard today. If you've seen the announcements, Elvis's #1 soundtrack on Billboard, 67% lift in streaming. Yeah, it's exactly what we want to see. So those guys have done a great job, and I think there was all of 19 seconds. I think I counted of new material from the on tour thing I just mentioned in the film. So there's a whole, I don't know, 150 hours or more of the same that's available to digitize and find ways to organize around. So there's some ambition around doing those things, but they become more realistic. And frankly, 50 years downstream, we should be seeing more of those in virtual, mechanisms if we can't get them physically. The film was great. It's done fantastic stimuli. We've all been very busy talking to new fans, giving them hints and tips around where they should go to listen first, which film they should watch next. It's been great, and long may that continue. It's been good.
When we had first met, I remember you quickly turned around you and you found a bunch of old checkbooks, and I knew at that moment in time that this was a discussion with someone that was super passionate about Elvis' legacy, and and for us, I'm hoping that you'd seen very quickly that how we were approaching a project like this and what it really meant for us, and how we can use technology to be able to connect fans together in a new way. And I was taken, but I wasn't surprised by the checkbook because I knew a little bit about it, right? And I knew a little bit about you going into it, Garry. But what I was surprised with was the amount of detail and backgrounds that you went into the project that we're working on, and why you were connecting with it. And you came with so many different questions to us. And a number of them were centered around the official licenses that we work with, and how we're with ABG and the Elvis Presley estate, and how we're connected with. There's many things that we're connected with within the project itself, which we'll go through. But I remember when you brought up that you'd had your own challenges with how the IP had been handled in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're being very, very, very diplomatic. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Elvis fans would be very familiar with. I mean, there's some great work that the teams have done. Don't get me wrong, over the intervening decades. But there's a collector label called Follow That Dream, for example, where there's 300+ albums that are not on streaming service. And physical media distribution costs are exorbitant, cost prohibitive, probably in today's world. And so what are we doing to digitally curate those and make them available and manage them? So there's a whole conversation around how you might do that. There's memorabilia that you took that checkbook. So in 1999, Lisa Marie Presley, through Graceland, auctioned by Guernseys in Las Vegas, total provenance from Graceland memorabilia. So it's a bit like, rolling the clock forward 23 years to 2022. When we talk about NFTs, it's around the blockchain securing, individual sovereignty used to, secure ownership and non-repudiation of that ownership is a really very powerful concept technically. But there's still a load of memorabilia. So I have to go to Vegas, sit in a room for 3 days and spend a lot of money to acquire physical things, which I was proud to do and I could afford to do. I had the luxury of being able to afford to do that 23 years ago. Some of that material is still not in the public domain. People haven't seen it. People might want to print it out and stick it on a T-shirt, or stick it on a poster on their wall, or send a message to a loved one, or whatever they want to do with it. So there are ways to ascertize those things, get them read and seen by people otherwise without flying to Graceland, and hoping that it's on display that week that they're in Graceland to see those things. So that's on the one hand. And in terms of this notion of a museum type curation idea, you want to make sure it's preserved and rendered most professionally, most elegantly, and in a way that preserves it in perpetuity. That I think is very, very exciting. And when you talk about the library of material that Elvis represents, there's a whole load of things for new fans still to enjoy, and indeed old fans. Unfortunately, some of those fans are no longer with us, and kind of unfortunately died waiting. There is nevertheless still a wealth of material that the general public hasn't seen. There's a risk they will never see, and I think that would be well, that's not acceptable. So we've got to find a way to get it, and digitally is the way to do that. So
Well, I feel like the one thing that you connected with. So for those that don't know, you know, what we're developing and what we're creating is a true provenance of not only memorabilia but unique assets that are officially licensed by by the estate that not only represent a unique product but also something that contributes to a community treasury wallet. So anyone that owns any of these NFTs will be able to vote on what would be used for the actual treasury itself. And I know that it's super intriguing because for us it's community led. There's one Garry, but there's lots of other Elvis fans that we'd love to be able to have involved in this, which we can then bring or have proposals sent through to then connect and be voted on and what that treasury money is used for. And I think that's super intriguing to me, and that was one of the things that impressed me most about you, Garry, was the due diligence that you'd done going into this about how that would be trusted and what challenges that you'd seen in the past. Because I know that there's a lot of different fan clubs around Elvis that have existed for a very long time, and everyone has a very similar there are many that have similar perspectives on wanting to buy back and bring back to the public domain or keep in personal for a personal vault of sorts, but they don't, right? Like, what sort of natural roadblocks have you experienced thus far?
There's obviously challenges. Obviously, in today's world, there is this thing around, you have social media and Facebook group communities, and you have lots of different forums which are good for the community, but actually have an effect of basically fragmenting the messaging. The fans can't really speak with one voice and can't be listened to as one voice. And so I think the whole kind of idea of this kind of decentralized, the DAO piece, is to have a fan-based way of influencing, participating, and actually playing a role in governing things that the fans have a stake in promoting. So having that kind of seat at the table and establishing almost like a new memorandum of association or articles of association for fan clubs to say, actually, we're working alongside the brands with innovators like yourselves, Run It Wild, and others that we've just heard from earlier, Coorest and others, that allow us to find new ways to get what the fans want, which is to see Elvis and access Elvis material which we're interested in, but also the ethos and philosophy around curation and preservation and protection of Elvis's legacy. That's really important, certainly to old farts like myself, baby boomers. But we would like to think that there'll be a young, energetic, passionate, set of digital natives and millennials that will also get the bug and will carry that forward. Because I think Elvis, frankly, deserves that. And actually, somebody once said, people like, it's not just unique to Elvis, but certainly in Elvis's case, these sort of people should live for 1,000 years, because all they really do is entertain people and bring them joy and happiness. And so that's a precious commodity in today's world. So again, I'm getting a little bit, hugging of the trees, but you get my point. Because of that, we want to engage, new generations and actually have people that can be innovative, and not to have, people. One of the challenges has been, to your point, has been your question has been, there's been apathy, certainly some degree of skepticism relative to some of the products that have emerged in recent times. Maybe favoritism around things like the ETA network. No disrespect to ETAs, but less attention around some of the Elvis products is one of the kind of complaints one hears often. And so this is not a direct challenge. This is a direct opportunity to influence what products and what NFTs can be crystallized as digital assets and then traded, shared, reused in different ways, like we heard with the trees earlier. So all of the other things are good opportunities and new ways to explore the Elvis legacy.
For those that haven't seen yet, I'll run you through a quick debrief on the project itself. It will bring some context, and you can visit it at elvis.onchainvault.io. There will be links after this. There's been trivia questions, trivia competitions that well, Gary's not allowed to enter anymore because he won the first one, and prizes and all the rest of it. It's been really humbling to see all different types of Elvis fans come into the conversation. But here we have what we call the Elvis Vault, and this is a digital. It's inspired by a vault from a digital aspect, which would collectively allow access to those that have what we call today an NFT. So we're really proud of what we've been able to build and deliver. We're really excited to continue to educate fans of Elvis about the project itself. There are multiple different, we think of it as a multifaceted project where it can allow lots of different people to explore and experience the value propositions of this particular NFT. There's only 1,935 of these that will ever be released. I did hear a stat actually the other day that it was close to 1 billion vinyls that Elvis has sold, Gary, over his life.
Yeah, physically, yeah, they're the ones that they still bother to count, and it's probably more than that because the way the Recording Association of America counts records. So that's physical product. Back in the day, when you actually physically had to buy the lump of acetate plastic. Yeah, so that yeah.
But what I find interesting about that is when it's on the blockchain, you know exactly how many have been sold, and you can see the exact provenance of the history of those that have been trading it as well. And that's what's really important for us here and what we've been able to build. And those portion of funds that are being able to go to what we call a community wallet. We are so excited to see what is proposed through this initiative, and bring back private collections to the public, and what the community want to see. And then there are multiple different ways that we're entering this metaverse where you as an exclusive token holder will be able to watch and stream the content that you want that others can't see. It's really powerful technology. And for those that are entering first time, we've got a number of different webinars that we've done in the past, and we explain this in a lot of detail there. Was it this time round? Gary? Was this the first time that you've entered Discord before as a social platform to communicate, or had you had it beforehand?
Well, no, I've been involved with some of the Discords in other projects, but this is So I'm familiar with that as the device for this type of community and conversation. So you get a lot of techno nerds like ourselves, Adam, I guess, who find it very easy and it's very simple and to understand. Whereas for an Elvis fan, they need a bit of coaching around how to participate and what it really feels like, and but without being patronizing, there's as you talked about earlier, people are the vagaries of NFTs and blockchain are kind of hard for people to understand and value. So from my point of view, talking to Elvis fans, it's very much around, okay, it's around the digital vault and the digital assets that matter, the things that could become tradable and will become tradable by the nature of how it's developed. But it's really in the gift of the decentralized organization to figure that out, isn't it? And that's, if you want to play a role and you want to participate, you have an opportunity to do that, because I'm sure, and I've detected already, there's a willingness to engage through the Authentic Brands Group and Sony BMG and yourselves and the wide partner community you've already engaged. That's very exciting, because again, one of the frustrations has been, it's always them and us, it's always the powers that be, and it's actually, no, there's a real business-like approach, leveraging the technology that allows things to happen that probably weren't possible or could have been possible, but the technology helps enable those conversations and actually provides a potential platform to distribute things that haven't been distributed before. And that's why I think if you're nervous about NFTs, well, don't be. Think of it as an opportunity as an Elvis fan to participate and involve yourself in the conversations around the content. It's all about content. Yeah, content about the king is king. So that's what it's really about. And for me, this is what you've done already is very interesting technically, and bring on the innovation is what I say, and bring Authentic Brands Group and other participants to the table, and we'll work with them happily. I'm sure the fans community will be delighted to get involved in that. looking forward to the launch.
Thanks, Garry. I think for those that are intrigued and wanting to explore this more, there's Garry and a number of other members within our Discord community. You can follow us on Twitter. You can also reach us an email where we've got lots of different links of previous webinars that explain this in further detail. But at the same time, it is totally fine if this feels disconnected to what you may know or understand about blockchain itself, but we're here to really help and educate you. It's coming from the most earnest spot. There are naturally questions around it, and we're here to break them all down and make them as palatable as possible. So for those that are challenged or are not sure, feel free. I think the best thing to do is continue to engage and understand more. And for those that are leading the project, myself included, we learn every day. We're building in real time, and we're really excited about what the future may look like. But for us as well, like, we've got a lot to share. So Garry, it's been an absolute pleasure. We could talk for hours, and I know that we will at some point this week, but maybe early next week. But for what it's worth, it's been a real privilege to be able to connect with you so early on. And I, hand on heart, I'm super excited about what this may mean and how it may look like to the Elvis community in the future. And to have you part of this has been a great thing. And I'm really looking forward to more learnings that we will take from you as well, and how we shape things up. So appreciate it. And I really do thank you for staying tonight.
No, thanks for inviting me and indulging me. Thanks a lot.
It's all good, man. I'm going to bring on Katie now. Katie is our amazing partnerships lead from Run It Wild, and it's very early where she is in Sydney, Australia. Good morning, Katie.
Hi, Adam. Good morning. Good morning. Hi, everybody.
So, Katie, I'm assuming that you've had your first glass of coffee today. You've got your mug next to you.
Adam.
Okay.
I'm due down. I'm rearing to go. It's only 7:13 here, so it's fine. But, so great to hear from Garry and and William. But yeah, super excited to be talking about the partnerships for Elvis on Chain.
Yeah, so when thinking about Web3, I think, and what it means to be on the blockchain, Katie and I have really connected on a level of our own perspectives of collecting, and also an art. Katie comes with an amazing background, especially in the fine art scene. But when speaking about how we can add value and how that can be connected to that of a holder of this project, can you tell us a little bit about what you've been able to procure so far and what people can look forward to in the future?
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Yeah, look, I think that's definitely the biggest joy of my job, and that is connecting with partners that are going to continuously add value back to holders. So I think we've obviously heard from Coorest. Internally, I think that's one of our favorite partnerships. The fact that we've got an in real life Elvis Forest, it still blows my mind. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So look, I think outside of that, we're working with so many different partners that are adding value in different ways. It's a very multi-layered project, I like to say, and I think a lot of that comes with the fact that we're working with a number of different virtual worlds or metaverses. So we have Decentraland, which is one of the largest metaverses at the moment, and we're holding a Guinness World Record party there. We're working with Spatial, which is another metaverse, and I guess you can think of that as high resolution, smaller spaces that you can own, that you can meet friends in, that different sort of community events can take place. So there'll be, I guess, a roster of activity that we'll be hosting in that space. I think really excitingly as well, we're working with Hush Puppies, and so for those who don't know, Hush Puppies actually have an in real life Elvis shoe collection. So you can wear the blue suede or the pink suede. So for holders, there's going to be plenty of opportunities to sort of win shoes, which is super exciting. So we've got a trivia coming up next week, which is centered around fashion. So make sure you don't miss that, because you can go in the chance to win some blue suede shoes. But I think what's super exciting is the ability as well to continuously add value through things like free claims. So we have a couple of very exciting announcements. Firstly, with our partner Mona. So Mona is a virtual, high fidelity virtual gallery space. So as a holder of the Elvis Genesis keys, you'll receive your own Monaverse. So your own Elvis space where you can showcase your Elvis on-chain NFT among really anything. It's really your space to create. And the way that that works is very user-friendly. So if you go and check out Mona, you'll be able to see a little bit more. Outside of that, we're also working with the Sandbox. So the Sandbox is another major metaverse. And it's different to Decentraland in that it's voxelized, and that means it's the world looks sort of cubed in many ways. But Sandbox has incredible abilities to create multiplayer and solo games. So we are creating an Elvis Presley game, which again is going to be very multi-layered, very exciting. And along with that, there'll be also Elvis avatars, so you can play as Elvis or somebody from the Elvis era. So we can't give away too much at the moment, but those who are holders of the Genesis keys will also have a free claim to an avatar, which is incredibly exciting. And then, which leads me perfectly into the last free claim. So as a holder of the Elvis Genesis keys, we're working with Joe Petruccio. So for those who don't know Joe, he is the official artist of the Elvis Presley estate. I believe he's sort of been working there as the official artist for just shy of 2 decades, which is phenomenal. So he's a regular at Graceland. He has his gallery at Graceland. And so we did sit down yesterday to have a quick chat, which I know we'll jump into the recording in a moment. But Joe has a phenomenal original artwork called Side B. And so we're creating a generative art collection where holders will receive a free Joe Petruccio NFT, which is incredibly exciting. It's his first foray into NFTs. He's very passionate and supportive about the project. So it's been an absolute pleasure to work with Joe and get a bit more of an insight into his world. So yeah, this is hopefully a little bit of an overview of what's to come. Many more things, over many, many years, but I think this year it's a big year for Elvis. A lot of things are coming from our partners, so forever grateful for that. So I think, Adam, I think we're good to maybe jump into that fireside with Joe when you're ready.
So I was going to quickly recap for those that, to be very clear, like to own the first series, which is the 1,935 unique NFTs as part of the first collection, you'll be able to have a number of different free opportunities. You'll get different access to other people, and then there's contribution to all the voting that you have as well. And Katie, you've done an amazing job, and there's lots more to come too. So I think for sure. I might jump into what you and Joe caught up with the other day. I'll get to that next. So let me know if you can hear this.
I can't hear it, Adam. Can you, Katie?
Oh, I can't. It's a little bit laggy, just on my end.
That's okay. Why don't we can send this as a link later, can't we? Interview, because I feel like it might be slightly challenging for me to bring up.
Absolutely.
So this is, Katie, talk to me about this. So this is the art that he just recently released, correct?
Yeah, it was interesting because, I mean, it was just completely coincidental that when we saw this artwork on Joe's website, so Joey Paints, it was something that I think, collectively as a team, we really gravitated towards. When you think of Elvis, you think of him being really sort of vivacious and colorful and energetic. And this was something that I think really stood out to us in that it's very contemplative and it's pensive, and it's the way that Joe has painted this. It's Elvis sort of in that moment of quiet when he's on stage and the band's playing and having a solo. And for us, we just thought it's such a different side to Elvis that you don't often see. So Joe had actually only just released that as a painting, as an original painting to sell on his website. And about a week later, we contacted Joe just saying this is, the perfect artwork to create a generative art collection digitally. And so he actually took that down. So it's not for sale at the moment, but it will be again soon after we release this sort of sub collection, which will be going out in a few weeks.
For those that may not be clear about a generative collection, Katie, how best would you explain it?
Yeah, so I guess there's a few different ways to explain it, but I think one of a really great way I like to think of it is that you can put, I guess, rules and parameters around, for example, a visual asset. And basically setting up those rules, you can produce many different variations based on those rules. And so, for example, using this side B, you can see that the face stays the same, the background stays the same. But what our creative technologist, who is totally amazing, has done, has asked his systems and has created these systems to basically generate many different variations of hair and the clothes, and he can set also color theory into that. So that's why you can see that a lot of these examples here, they work so well. So the computer isn't sort of spitting out perhaps undesirable outcomes. So with that system in place, you can spit out 10, or you can spit out 10,000, for example. How did that sound, Adam?
I know. Yeah. And I think what's really special about it is every one of them will be unique to the next, right? And and I think so they're true one of ones within one collection of however many thousands. And it felt really great when we saw this, and obviously when people see the interview with Joe that you did as well, he's just an amazing human who's connected with the project so very well, and he's a talented artist. So it's been amazing to digitize it and have this that you then can include in your Twitter display pictures, to your Facebook display pictures, to just having on your virtual wall in one of the metaverses that we're building out that's all officially licensed.
All right, great. Hi, Joe. Great to see you again.
Hi, Katie. Great to see you. How are you?
Really good, thank you. Really excited to be chatting again, and just shooting some questions over your way, I guess, on your practice, on you, and of course, the collaboration that we're about to enter into. So I might just start with, I guess really you've got such a fascinating journey as an official Elvis artist, and really for listeners that might not know, can you share some highlights of your career?
Sure. I'll tell you how I got started as an official artist for Elvis, which is kind of a great story. I really love it. And only because I didn't start out painting Elvis or anything to make a living. I love Elvis. I've always loved Elvis. I've always been an Elvis fan. And so I joined an Elvis Collectors Club website one day, and I started going in the chats and seeing people post all the pictures. So I decided I'm going to post one of my paintings. So I started posting my paintings, and people started asking me if they could buy them. So I never really parted with my art before, and especially my Elvis art, which was so close to me. So I just, said, no, I'm not selling. And I would post some more and more, and people would want them. But again, I kept turning them down. And I guess they wrote to Elvis Presley Enterprises and asked about me. So Elvis Presley Enterprises looked into me and asked me to send them, heard that I was posting pictures, and I thought maybe I was in trouble. Sent them some work. And this is all done. I've never spoke to anyone. It's all done through emails. And they looked at my work. I sent them some more work, and they asked me, how would you like to be the first official artist for Elvis Presley? And I thought, wow, that's amazing. And this is all like just typing back and forth. They didn't even hear our voice. And in 2003, my first Elvis week as the official artist of Elvis, I was down there and I did my first piece. And it's just been an exciting journey ever since. I mean, I joined the collectors club, and the thing I wound up collecting more than anything are all the fans that Elvis has, are now all friends of mine. And, you know, that's the greatest gift that he could have given to me, and to have the people in my life from Elvis.
That's amazing. I mean, I guess, you know, that transition as well from, yeah, I guess not knowing what the future holds in a way, and having that sort of fall in your lap in many ways, just because you followed what you love and you followed your passion is so incredible. And I guess as a traditional artist in many ways, and now we're sort of entering this new brave world of NFTs, and digital art is, of course, you know, so much on the rise. Really keen to hear from you, I guess, what excites you about this brave new world of NFTs and NFT art?
What I really love about NFTs is that I almost feel like I'm doing my first show again as an artist. It's really like a new way of doing work. It's a new way of working. It's a new way of expressing myself. It's a new way of getting my work out to people, to more people than I was ever able to before. And it's just so fresh, and a great way for, like I said, for me to express myself in a whole new way. It's a great form of art. It's a great way for people to collect art. There are a lot of people, I remember going to shows and like, I love that piece, but I don't have a wall in my house to put that on. Or, you know, the great thing about NFTs is you know, if you love it in your heart, you could have it in your life. And that's a great thing about it. And I love that. So it's really exciting to me.
Yeah, I love hearing that. I think one of the interesting things I heard, and this was sort of through a podcast, I believe it was one of the execs from Christie's, and they were talking about one of their NFT collections, one of their early ones. And they were saying it was fascinating. It wasn't just the traditional collectors who were now buying NFT art. They actually found a lot of the NFT collectors, or I guess more crypto native, were actually starting to buy traditional art for the first time, because it was almost that gateway in a way. So yeah, thank you. I think it's really interesting. And yeah, also love to hear from you, from your words, around the collaboration that we're doing together, and your thoughts, and I guess a quick synopsis from you on what's to come from our collab.
Okay. Well, this collaboration is one of my favorite Elvis pieces that I've created, and now I'm able to take that piece and collaborate with you guys on this. It's just what I love about it is that it's a whole new way for me to get this piece out, and it means so much. And one of the great things about what I feel so great about is when I first started working with Elvis in 2003, and I did my first piece with them. It was a big piece, and it was a very important piece in my portfolio of my collection, just my work, of people who collect my work. And a lot of people now are sorry that they didn't get that piece back then, and I feel that this is the same thing. I'm feeling that same excitement inside that I did back in 2003. I can't wait for people to see this. I can't wait for people to see all the different ways that we've interpreted this piece. And it's so exciting to me to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and particularly, I think, you know, for those listening on record now, one of the really exciting things about this collaboration with yourself, Joe, is that all of the holders of the Elvis Genesis keys will also be receiving a free claim to one of Joe's side B NFTs, which is hugely exciting. And I think, obviously, the dynamic element of how digital art can transform one of your incredible paintings being side B is we're really excited to sort of see this come to life in the coming weeks. But I think, you know, we'd love to know a little bit more about the actual painting itself, about side B. It's such a beautiful artwork. And I think from a Run It Wild side, you know, we instantly saw this as something that would be such a perfect, I guess, base for what will be a generative art collection. So yeah, we'd love to know more about side B and the artwork itself and how it came to be.
Okay, great. Well, side B, which is basically this piece that's right behind me here, it's really inspired by a couple of things. It's inspired by some of the iconic type of rock art from the 60s and 70s that happened back then. But it's also inspired for the way I feel about Elvis and how I see Elvis. And I see Elvis, I see a very quiet side of Elvis, and I paint that side a lot. Even though my work is very colorful and there's a lot of movement in it, a lot of the movement is just based on the brushwork, not the actual action of Elvis. So I like about this piece is that it's, first of all, Elvis is one of the few people who you could just do their profile in silhouette and you know it's Elvis. So that's one of the things I tried to capture. The other thing is there's a quietness I think that Elvis had in his life that I think that I really love. I think that he was always followed by millions of fans wherever he went. He had never had a moment for himself. But when Elvis was on stage and he would, you know, part of the song would come out where he would say, "Play it, James," and he'd step back and the lights would go off him and they go on James Burton playing the guitar. He had that moment to himself, even though he was in front of all these people, he was alone. And I used to love those moments. I used to love to find those moments in his life. So there's a little of that in this piece too. So I tried to bring that all together. The excitement comes from the color. The quiet and solitude comes from the silhouette. And I brought that all together in side B. I didn't call it side A because side B is the side I think that we don't really see.
That's fantastic. I didn't actually know that last bit around the side B and why it's called that. But you're right. I think there's something so beautiful in the quietness. You've captured it so well, and I think we all know Elvis as being that very vivacious, energetic character, and there's something just you know, beautifully pensive about the work. So yeah, I think that's terrific. And I think, Joe, you know, we'd love to hear from you as well around, you know, where can we see your work? I know, as you mentioned, you know, you've been doing Elvis Week for many years now. But for, I guess, everybody listening, it'd be great to hear, you know, where can people find your work? Where can they find you?
Okay. Well, most importantly, you can find me at Graceland, you know, where you can find Elvis. I've been honored with my own little gallery there on the grounds of Graceland. I have a Joe Petruccio gallery there, so you can stop in. And during Elvis Week, I'm there, so you can stop in, say hi, and always happy to meet new fans, new friends, sign autographs. I do little drawings for people if I have the time. So it's a great time. I'm on Instagram. I'm socially, I'm all over the place. I'm on Instagram as Joey at Joey_paints. My website, joeypaints.com. So I'm in all the places you would, I'm on Facebook. I'm everywhere.
Fantastic. Well, I think, you know, hopefully we'll see you at Elvis Week this year.
Absolutely.
But yeah, for sure. And Joe, I just think, you know, from the bottom of my heart and from everybody at Run It Wild, thank you so much. We're so thrilled to be working with you. It's an absolute honor. So excited about this collaboration and really just to be able to bring that to the masses in a really new way, bring your art to new audiences. So thank you.
Well, I just want to thank you too. I mean, it's a first for me. It's a first for Elvis. I mean, we're creating a first together again, a first NFT piece of art. And I have to just say, working with you guys, I mean, I couldn't have decided to work with a more talented, beautiful bunch of people as you all. And people should know that you're all great. You guys love Elvis, and we're doing it right. And I think they're going to enjoy what they have coming their way.
Amazing. Well, thank you for putting your trust in us. You know, we really appreciate it.
Believe me.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Joe.
Thank
we'll
you.
See you very soon.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bits with us. There's some details around the project. You can follow us on Twitter and Discord. You can connect to the website. There is also a highly detailed light paper. That light paper breaks down in a much more descriptive, detailed plan of what the project is and what we're doing. If the website has you intrigued and you're wanting to hear more and see more, like the light paper is a great resource. You can find it on the website, download it as a PDF and read it in your own time. Or when if you're intrigued and you're wanting to just explore and connect with more community members, we suggest to jump onto Discord, but you can also just connect with us on email and we can keep you up to date when this goes on sale. So the learn with us.
I can introduce this one. Yeah. We've started to do this. Obviously, this webinar is a factor of this, where it's really important for us that for a project like this that has, as Katie said, multi-layers, that we are really transparent with our audience and educating them wherever they are on their cycle. So we're formalizing our education into a couple of streams, and collectively we've decided on the name of Elvis Dojo, which obviously, for those that know, Elvis is into karate and took time away to master that. And like Adam says, we spend time learning, reading, seeing what the latest and greatest is. So we're formalizing our education streams into two. Currently we're thinking yellow belt and blue belt as the next two belts up. But so if you're completely new to NFTs and the metaverse, we're going to have a series of quick bite-sized education to onboard you very quickly into NFT. So understanding what an NFT is, but also, for example, for Decentraland, which we'll get onto in a minute in terms of our next key date, how to enter Decentraland for the very first time and how to get the best experience out of it, and use the community chat box and use your emotes, which is how your avatar moves, and have a really great time in there. And also don your wearable that you'll get. So we're going to spend time educating people on that. And then we recognize that our audience is a mixed bag, which is what we want. We want all Elvis fans from any ilk, whatever you're into, if you're a collector, NFT collector, or if you're completely new. So we have a stream of content that is targeted to if you're an emerging collector, which will start to post from next week. So we've got two, concepts cooking on that. We've got some new news about linked wearables. We've got some new news about interoperability, and what the difference is when we say the words on-chain NFT, what technically that actually means, and what the alternatives mean, and what the pros and cons of each. So we're going to share that with you as we go. Adam, if you could just kick forward to the next slide quickly. I know we're coming up to time as well. Just wanted to flag the next two, moments for us. Tentpole moments are our Guinness World Record. So for those that don't know, we're hosting the first ever Guinness World Record, official Guinness World Record, in a metaverse, and that's going to be in Decentraland. That's going to be our launch party for Elvis on Chain. We will do an official count of the number of what the Guinness World Record is the highest number of impersonators in metaverse. So we will do a count of everyone that attends, and that is wearing one of our Guinness World Record suits, wigs, glasses and boots. So the beauty of that, and Adam uses this term a lot in terms of romanticism of that, is that currently if you do a Guinness World Record, it's flagged on a number counter, which probably exists on a spreadsheet, which probably exists on a server. With this on-chain Guinness World Record, if you attend and you're counted, your wallet will be memorialized on the blockchain as one of the contributors to the world first ever Guinness World Record in the metaverse, which is huge. And we're really excited about that. So that's happening depending on where you are in the world, the 21st to the 22nd of July. I'll drop a link in a minute where you can RSVP to that, and like I said, we'll take you through that experience and how to drop in and have a really good time in there. and communications about that will accelerate in the next coming week. And then Mint Day has been rescheduled after the Guinness World Record, now sitting a few days after, midweek after, on the 24th and 25th. So yeah, that's the latest updates for us, and we might see if there are any questions. There seems to be quite a few posts from Garry sharing some of his themes from earlier. We've got a comment here. The Joe Petruccio example is super cool. There are many similar opportunities in using the same technology to render retro logos, ephemera, I don't know what that means, memorabilia, and yes, some really cool original works. So that's a really nice comment from Garry, that there's loads more content that he's aware about as a super fan, that could also work in this environment as a generative project. So that's great. So we might hang on for another minute or so. If anyone has any questions, we're happy to answer them. Adam, do you have anything to add?
I think, ultimately here, for us, connect, reach out, find out more. There is so much that's being built into this project over the next few years. And whilst building in blockchain, you start to recognize how important that will be in the future. So I think educating yourself now when through a project like this is a great thing. And then having an officially licensed part of Elvis's life, and also what I can then add value to in the future in terms of additional access. It's not for everyone, for every part of it. You may not be interested in games, you may not be interested in the virtual environments, but we promise to be able to hit on multiple different levels to connect to new communities and existing ones and do right by it. So like where we've connected with Garry, we look forward to connecting with another 1,934 Elvis fans, and then thousands more on top of that in future opportunities that will exist within this project. So yeah, it's been a great time to sort of connect again with Coorest, which is such a big fan of the fact that we will have an Elvis Coorest. And, there's lots of things that we're going to be definitely exploring with them in the future too. I was pretty dead set that I want to go down and plant a tree. So feel free to join me, Sarah and Katie, and Garry, at some point to do so. But yeah, for now, we might wrap it up. And for those that have missed it, or have come in late, there will be a recording that will be sent to your email. And there'll be links associated where you can connect to the website and all the different socials too. But as always, thank you. Speak soon.
Thank you. Elvis on Chain is leaving the building. Thanks everyone for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Garry.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.